We're going to call this meeting to order. It's the City Council meeting for June 21st, 2022, and it's 6 p.m. Janet, will you call the order? Call the roll, please.
Sure. I don't see Councilmember Diaz. So then we'll move on to Councilmember Juan.
Here.
Councilmember Wolf.
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Tillman.
Here.
And Mayor Cloven.
Thank you. I am here too. I appreciate it. We're going to move on to item number 2 tonight, where we're going to evaluate candidates for the Planning Commission vacancy. We have 4 candidates tonight for 3 positions. And the first candidate we'll be interviewing at 6:05 is Richard Ania. At 6:15, Maria Schulman. At 6:25, Amy Heinz-Shake. And at 6:35, Daniel Richardson.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't have my questions. Gotta grab those.
All righto. We were emailed earlier today a list of questions. There's 5 of them. And I just, for the order of simplicity, we'll do it in the order of roll call, which will be Jim will get question 1. And until Jim shows up, I will ask question number 1 on his behalf. Jeff, you get question number 2, CW number 3, Holly number 4, and then I'll get question number 5. So that is the general order as it is. And since the first up is Richard Anigas Sr. We start at 6:05. We're going to promote him so he's ready to go when the time comes. Greetings, Rich. You're in the Zoom room. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, and we can hear you as well.
Good.
We're going to wait a couple more minutes and see if Councilmember Diaz is able to join us.
Okay.
Do we get to see Rich?
Do you have a camera available? You got curiosity, Rich?
Yes, I'm all set.
I'm not able to see you just yet. How's that camera going for you, Rich?
There I am.
Beautiful. Just like that.
Thank you.
Are you enjoying your new house?
We are.
Well,
Nothing
welcome
like
back.
unpacking in 100-degree weather.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
Thanks. It's great to be back. That concert was great Saturday night.
Indeed it was. That was Clayton at its finest.
Yes, it was.
We should probably go.
All right. I have 6:05. And again, when Councilmember Diaz joins us, I will give him question number 1. Jeff will have question number 2. CW will have question number 3. Holly will have question number 4. And I'll have question number 5. So I'll go ahead and start it off. Rich, welcome.
Thank you.
Your first question tonight is, why do you want to be a planning commissioner? And what specific skills would you bring to the planning commission?
I want to be a planning commissioner to give back to my community. I lived and worked here for almost 15 years. I left in 2005. We moved away and we're back. We were in Crescent City for 12 years, where I was a planning commissioner chair, city council member, mayor. And after 12 years, we wanted to move back. Clayton didn't have a house for us, a one single-story home we were looking for, so we settled for Trilogy till we could find a home here. So I've been a planning commissioner before, I've been city councilman, a mayor, so I know how the system works. And also, I was on a committee for the League of California Cities. I went to their planning commissioner training. And the reason I'm interested is I live here now and it's my community and I want to feel a part of it again. And when I was here in Clayton, I was on the Community Services Committee, which you don't have anymore. So we help plan the parades and events and things like that. That's my answer.
Excellent. So you were here for a long time. You left for a little while, and you came back. In that time, what's really changed in your view of the city, and how do you see that interacting with the issues that the city now faces that may or may not have been present when you were here during your tenure?
Well, seeing old friends and old surroundings, even though we lived in Brentwood for 7 years, I spent a lot of my time here. I'm on the CBCA, so we do the 4th of July, as you know, not the 4th of July, Art and Wine, Oktoberfest, the barbecue. So it's like I'm living here already. It seems like it's all the same to me. And I know with the housing element, there's a lot of issues that go with that, and helping people understand that. I think I have that skill to do that with people.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that Councilmember Diaz came. Mayor, do you want to continue on this road or?
Let's go ahead. Just Jim, when the next three candidates come up, you'll have question number 1 of the questions that were handed out via email today by the city manager. Right now, we're on question number 3, and Skibby will have that.
Okay.
Holly will have number 4, and I'll take number 5 again.
Okay. All right, the Planning Commission. Oh, hi, Rich. So you know how it all works, and you still want to do it.
I do like it, yes. And, the reason for that is when I was a planning commissioner in Crescent City and people get upset over certain issues and stuff, there's always the out of, listen, we're following the rules and ordinances, but there's always an appeal to the city council.
Well, that kind of goes with this question here. So the Planning Commission at times hears items that can be controversial or subject to differing opinions among Clayton residents. How do you approach those matters for which your perspective may differ from others? And how do you form your decision on those matters?
Well, I believe in following our ordinances and our rules. And those are set. Now, if people want to go over that rule, it's not my job to change that rule. My job is we follow those rules. And if the council wants to create a variance or whatever, that's up to the council. And so I'll do my best. What I will do is try to explain to people why it's this way and give examples if I can, and go with that to try to combat, even though there's going to be some that don't like the rule at all, and they're going to move on. I believe in talking it out.
Thank you.
Hi, Rich. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Good to see you. All right. So I know that you have experience based on your prior planning commission experience, but if appointed, you'll be on the planning commission during consideration of one of the most important policy documents in the planning arena, which is updating of the housing element of the general plan that happens once every 8 years. You're probably familiar with that. How will you prepare yourself in order to be able to contribute effectively as a planning commissioner during this important process? So maybe give some examples of what you had done in the past, if possible.
Well, under the housing elements, I've been reading them, and I know we have to supposedly reach a number of 560 or 70. And I'm not sure 100% that's set in stone. Sometimes the state can be iron fisted, but sometimes they'll back down a little bit. When I was here in the 90s, there was a highly controversial project under redevelopment, and that's those apartments behind Safeway. And a lot of people didn't want that. They didn't understand it. They thought the people were mentally ill, and They were going to be hanging around Safeway and people didn't feel safe. I went to several community meetings on behalf of the police department. The chief assigned me, and because I live here and know almost everybody and calm their fears. This is not what this is. There's a live-in, not caretaker, but manager, and that seemed to work. Today, people don't even realize those apartments are there anymore. And one of the things in Crescent City always came up about housing element, but it was reversed. Crescent City, a city of 6,000-7,000, but 20,000 surrounding it, is a very diverse and poor city, if you will. We were trying to get upscale housing, and that was very difficult to do with developers that didn't want to do that. We could get plenty of affordable housing, but we couldn't get the reverse. And of course, it's reversed here. But you need to fill those lots, and I understand about the 81 units that were approved, because we have to get our numbers together, and they're not going to all be ADUs. Because Clayton did that for a long time in the 90s. Got a house here, a house there. The Stranahan project had a couple of affordable units, 2 or 3, I can't remember. And people were against that. It was going to lower their property values. They didn't do anything like that. And you have to do something. And I remember the city planning when I was here in the 90s. They revised it and revised it again, and the state sort of forgot about us for a while. But with this housing shortage in the state, they're playing hardball with everyone, including where I came from, Brentwood. Brentwood's trying to infill like we are. They want to put an apartment project. People are dead set against it, and the developers leave. So we have to find common ground.
Thank you.
Hey, Rich, I was curious what you think the most important issues in Clayton are, and what your vision for Clayton is.
And what condition it is?
What your vision for Clayton is.
Oh, vision. I'm sorry. Clayton is just about built out. It's the same as I remember. I mean, there's not much different, but it's grown, especially the trees, the ballparks and the dog park and things like that. My vision is to keep the city the way it is. It's pretty nice, but we have to do our housing element and complete our infill. We're never going to grow outward anywhere, and we accept that fact. But the little property that we do have, we need to make the most of it, and we need to follow the rules of the state, and because they can take it over, and we do not want that.
Thanks, Rich. Do you have any questions for us?
No, that I hope you would consider me, and I think I can add a lot to the Planning Commission, being a commissioner and a chair before, to try to keep things as calm as possible, even with working in some adverse conditions under people that want certain things and are demanding. We can tone it down, and I think that's what it needs, by being reasonable. And that's what I do pretty good at, is finding middle ground somewhere. Did it for 30 years as a policeman. I think I can do it with people at planning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rich. Appreciate your time and your application.
Thank you.
Janet, the next one on our list at 6:15 is Maria Schulman. Could you promote her, please? And reminder, Jim, you get to ask question number 1 on the list of questions.
Mayor Cloven, I don't show Maria. She was in earlier. So we might want to give her a minute to log back in.
I can try texting her. I don't know if I still have her.
That would be great.
Let me see.
I don't see any of the other three candidates in yet either.
They were asked to log in just before their interview time.
Awesome.
Can you resend her a link? She cannot get back into the one you sent earlier.
If she can just go to page 2 of the agenda, she can just use that link. There were not, special link was not emailed out to the candidates.
Okay. She's saying, can you go to page 2 of the agenda? And I can try to send you a link to if you can't find it. And you can log in that way. Okay, she's doing that.
There she is.
She's back, Janet.
Yeah, I've already promoted her. She should be up in just a moment.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hello.
Greetings, Maria. Welcome
Hi,
back.
good evening.
Is your camera working by any chance?
It should, yeah, here it goes. It should be. Yay.
I actually want to be where you are right now.
I'm sitting in my office at home. Thank you.
Excellent. So welcome back. Jim B is going to ask you the first question.
Looking
Okay,
at the
thank you.
wonderful ocean just outside of the street or limits is Clayton. Maria, welcome. Let me ask you the first question, which is first, why do you want to be a planning commissioner in the city of Clayton? And tell me, and the council, what skill set do you bring to be a planning commissioner?
Well, I want to be a planning commissioner because this little town has seen such divide, and quite frankly, it's really heartbreaking. And I want to help be a bridge to bring that divide together. I don't want to see all these fractions fighting. It's enough. I can't take it anymore. I think if we all work together, there is a workable solution for everything. There is nothing that can't be solved if we don't put all of our heads together and say, hey, we need to come up with common ground, and things are workable when we do that together. If we just sit down and listen to one another and say, hey, you know, I like this idea, I don't like that idea, and we don't do name calling and things like that. Because from what I've seen on different posts on Nextdoor and Clayton Engaged and, you know, all these other posts, it's not necessary. And I really think that if we had a bridge and we gave people an outlet to just get out their thoughts, get out their ideas, and then we take the best of everything and have input, then I think we will come up with a solution for this planning commission and the housing requirements that'll be workable for everybody. And I think all my years of dealing with such diverse populations, you know, through banking, through nursing, that it gives me different skill sets, because you have to understand people, and you have to know how people work, and you have to bring that with you, and you have to learn. Like, some people, they come at you harsh, but you know they're not meaning it that way, and you have to discern that, whether you think they're being aggressive with you, and sometimes they're just not. It just may be their tone, and they don't know how to express it another way. Things like that. I had one person I worked with who was extremely smart and would not listen to anybody unless you can give them 3 valid reasons to do something. So you had to do that. So, you know, I have that people skill that you just have to listen and figure out the best way to reach somebody.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Jim.
So this is your third time applying. Do I recall that correctly? All right. So has your views changed now from when you first applied on your first go round and your second go round? Has anything changed, or are you about in the same spot?
Well, no, as the further I get into looking at the different laws that have changed and different plans and the municipal codes, and my ideas have changed and they've altered. You have to grow. If you don't grow, you're just stagnant, and nobody wants to live in old ways.
So what has, in your time going through this process the 3 times, can you identify anything that's changed for you, knowing now what you know versus what it was back the first go around?
I think I've gained more knowledge looking at the different laws, the different rules, the different regulations, and understanding, the design element and what is required and how we could do it within the town, and keeping the town's look, the town's ambiance, and fitting in what we need and what would be optimal. I was looking at some of the plans for some of the other things that are being built, and just trying to, you looking at other pieces and thinking of how you can work them in and what little areas that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Maria. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, the Planning Commission, you probably heard this question before, at times hears items that can be controversial or subject to differing opinions among the residents of Clayton. How would you approach those matters for which your perspective may differ from others? And how do you form your decision on those matters?
Well, you have to listen to people. That's first and foremost. You got to listen to people. And if you don't listen and just go by what you think and feel, it's not going to work. You have to listen, and then you have to apply the applicable laws and regulations and codes, and you have to build from there. But you want to build a consensus. You want your constituents, you want your community to all feel as they're part of the decision, as they're part of the building of this community, of this new housing. You want them to be part of it. So you have to really listen and incorporate their ideas. It may not be the ones they want, but you have to incorporate something. And I'm sure that's workable. And, sometimes there is conflict, and sometimes you have to agree to disagree. But I don't think that we need to be loud and calling people name and doing all this nonsense that's been going around. And, I hear that some people get flyers and letters. I've never seen them, don't want to see them, because from what I've heard, they haven't been nice. I don't operate that way. If you ask me a question, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just that way. You see it on my face. If I don't like it, I tell you. And if I do like it, I tell you.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Hey, I'm curious, Maria, what do you think is the most important issue for Clayton? And what's your vision for Clayton?
The most important issue for Clayton. Wow. That's a tough one with everything that's been happening. I want to see the town come back together. My vision for Clayton is to, as much as we need to do the housing, along with that housing, I want to keep our character, because I think overall we are a very good place to be. We have a good community. There's good people here. There are people that are very giving here, and things are workable and doable. And my vision is to bring everybody, to see if we can get everybody and bring them together to keep the character, to grow our character, to make us even a better place to live. MB.
Thank you, Maria. That's awesome. And that
Thank
was
you.
the last question that I had for you. Appreciate your being back for the third time. I love your tenacity.
It's me.
Yes. I missed you.
Yeah.
I missed you, Holly. How did I do that?
Yeah, how do you?
You go.
I was like, don't let her drop off yet. I still have
Woo. I was looking at time. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. Appointed, you'll be on the Planning Commission during consideration of one of the most important policy documents in the planning arena, which is the update of the housing element of the general plan that happens once every 8 years. And I know since you've been listening in to council meetings and being involved in the last about year or so that you're familiar with this. So how will you prepare yourself in order to be able to contribute effectively as a planning commissioner during this important process?
I would look at other cities and what they've done, and then I would also talk to the other planning commissioners and of course city council, and we would have to come up with some creative ideas. I also believe that, you know, Clayton is pretty much built out except for a few areas, and that's another question that we would have to address. I was looking into what Sacramento would require if we just simply don't have the further ground to build out. And I have been contacting people to get answers about that. Because that, you know, when we do build, or if we have to build, and we do build on all that available space that we do have, and convince some people that have some farmland to sell off some of their farmland, or, you know, shopping centers to build on top of the shopping center and whatnot, that when we run out of land, where do we go next? And that's a question that I'm really interested in, not only for us, but for other communities, because that is a looming issue for a lot of smaller cities like ours.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Maria. I appreciate it. And again, appreciate your stepping up and trying for the third time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight.
You betcha. Next, we'll bring in Amy. She's in.
Yes, let me go ahead and get her promoted.
Hey, everybody. Hello, hello.
Greetings, Amy. Welcome.
Happy summer solstice to
It is
y'all.
definitely the longest day of the year. And with that, Councilmember Diaz will get the first question for you. We keep rolling along.
All right.
Thank you. Good evening, Amy. Tell me this, a couple questions. One, why do you want to be a planning commissioner? And I know you're filling out the term for a expired term, however you want to be characterized. But why do you want to be a planning commissioner? And tell me what specific skill set you bring to being a planning commissioner.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Diaz. So my goals and efforts, I guess, the platform, if you will, is for us to be fiscally responsible as far as how difficult the budget is. We know that we don't want to be inviting frivolous lawsuits, and so just doing my due diligence and combing through all of the data to make sure that we don't attract the ire of those who would wish to file such a frivolous lawsuit. That's a real difficult time that I see other cities going through, and we just really want to avoid that. So my eye is to making sure that we're as compliant as absolutely possible to make sure we don't attract that. And then my second, or my tier 2, I guess, is to make sure that we don't attract the watchful eye of my good friend David Zisser. So that's the director of the Housing Accountability Unit over at HCD. Now they're very staffed up. And so I like David Zisser. He's a former colleague and would get a beer with him any day, but I just don't want to know him in this role. I just don't want anyone related to Clayton drawing the attention of David Zisser or the Housing Accountability Unit. So those are my two basic premises of everything that I've been doing so far, just looking to make sure that we're as compliant as possible and don't draw undue attention to ourselves. So I just try to dot all my I's and cross all my T's. A special skill set that I bring, I think, is being very systematic and thorough about how I review all of the documents, and being systematic and thorough about how I review the staff thoughtfulness and recommendations and all the details that they pour into all of the recommendations that they give us. And that includes the contractors. And then try to do my own research and my own understanding of the law. I think that I mentioned before that I'm a legislative advocate for the California Community Land Trust Network. And so I operate in the housing policy space. And since the time that I've been appointed, I've also become the legislative advocate for Housing Now, which is another housing justice advocacy organization. So I do understand in detail the workings in Sacramento and kind of how to make sure that we're doing the best we can and we don't draw undue ire. And I really have appreciated and really, really support the staff. I don't know how many times I could say it, but thank you, Director Ayers and everybody else that really puts in the work and make sure that we're well informed. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Amy.
Given your role as legislative advocate, as you just mentioned, for the various organizations, would you consider yourself generally a pro-housing person?
I don't know what that means, but I think that if you're
well, let me rephrase. Would you consider yourself? That you're a supporter of the mission of the organizations in which you're the legislative advocate for?
I do. So the California Community Land Trust Network represents 26 community land trusts in the state of California, from all the way from the tippy top to the Oregon border, Crescent City, all the way down to Calexico. And they do not, as I have shared before, very frequently do ground up construction. That doesn't usually pencil out for their business model. And so they do acquisitions and rehabilitations of existing structures. And Housing Now is mostly a tenants advocacy organization. And so they advocate for tenants' rights. They helped advocate for the ERAF, the rental assistance program, and things of that nature. So since we don't have a lot of apartment complexes in Clayton, they don't really have a lot of residents that are organized for Housing Now. And also we don't have any community land trust properties in Clayton. But I did share that if for some reason Clayton had some sort of property that was less so for Housing Now, because it's a tenants' rights organization. So I think that doesn't apply. But if a community land trust had attempted to acquire a property here, I would absolutely recuse myself, because that's a part of what we would need to make sure, not that I would benefit financially from the exchange, but just I'm too involved. So I don't think that the Northern California Community Land Trust that is over our area has attempted to acquire any properties here or will in the future, but I could be wrong. And in that case, I would definitely not take any kind of action in that case.
Thank you.
CW?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Thought I hit the wrong button there for a minute. I should have the hang of it by now. My whole term as mayor was on Zoom. Anyway, so welcome. My question that I've been assigned to here, the Planning Commission at times hears items that can be controversial or subject to differing opinions among Clayton residents. How do you approach those matters for which your perspective may differ from others? And how do you form your decision on those matters?
Well, this past time for the housing element, we really relied a lot on the survey to share what folks were more receptive to and not, and then we really relied on public comment. So I'm usually fairly delayed in my reaction. So in the case where we were talking about the environmental review and we had a public comment about the impact to schools, I did a lot of research about the demographics of the schools and if we were about to be built out for schools. And it turns out that we're only 2/3 enrolled for Mount Diablo Elementary, and we're significantly under enrolled for our middle school. It actually made it so that they had to cut some electives in the middle school. And so, and they don't have requirements for Clayton in any of the high schools because our feeder high school went charter, and so that allows the student to be able to pick anything in the public high schools wherever they want to go. So it's actually, they're only 67% enrolled in the elementary school. So I did all that research just to make sure that we weren't being impacted in that way. We got a couple comments about natural resources, like what are we going to do with water? And in that case, it really has to do with population growth and period. And so it doesn't necessarily have to do with whether or not we build housing in Clayton. It's just the fact that we have a drought and the entire state of California is impacted with water. But my husband is a water treatment plant engineer, so I did ask him some engineering-y questions about that. And I gave my research to Dana just to make sure that she kind of knew the findings that I had also learned. I'm thinking about one particular case where it had to do with the downtown site, and Mr. Cesarin, who serves on the Planning Commission with me, had shared that his perspective was that we should take those sites off of the housing element. And I did not respond at all in that session. I just asked mostly questions. It took me a few weeks to gather my thoughts about that. And my thoughts were that my perspective was that the downtown sites should remain in the housing element, and you all, of course, will decide on the 23rd. So in that case, it was a pretty delayed situation. So I don't usually off the cuff try to give direct feedback in that exact moment. I try to really gather my thoughts and think about what the perspective is and if I need to do any research. And so yeah, I mean, I do think that what I'm trying to do is just to get back to my platform is to really be very diligent and show that I'm doing my due diligence through providing the research to Dana if she wants to share it with the other planning commissioners, and then also be responsive to all of the elements of the housing element and just really think through each one of our tasks, because it's a very, very task oriented and detailed document of all the things that you must consider. And so I do try to take that job seriously and consider every single thing that's part of our task before us. And of course, we're an advisory body, right? So keeping in mind, we're advising you, and that is advice to the actual elected representatives who are actually elected to really like comb through this and do it. And you all will have your deliberations in a couple days here. But I just want to be able to say, look y'all in the eyeball and say, I think that what we did was make sure we're not going to have frivolous lawsuits and we're not going to attract the ire of HCD and have our autonomy taken away. And if I can say that to you, then it's your oyster, whatever you want to do. And you're the elected representatives. I'm not, I'm just appointed, clearly.
Thank you.
Ooh, girl. Okay. So last question from me. If appointed, you will be on the Planning Commission during consideration of one of the most important policy documents in the planning arena, which is the update of the housing element of the general plan, which happens every 8 years, which you're in the middle of right now. And I know that as a planning commissioner during this last 6 months, you've been working on that. So how will you prepare yourself any differently than what you've already done? Or if you want to just give us 2 sentences on what you've done so far, that I think you just answered in the last question. How will you be able to contribute effectively as a planning commissioner during this important process? Any additional things you want to add to what you just answered to CW?
Just very briefly, the next stage, if I'm lucky enough to be reappointed, is of course you all are going to finalize whatever you want to submit to HCD, and that will be submitted, and then they will review it. And that process could be simple, but it could be fairly arduous. And so we're just going to have to be prepared to be flexible and nimble, and also creative and humble and hopefully keep our senses of humor intact. So, I mean, we just want to be like collegial, right? That we're Claytonians and we're trying to be a family. And if it turns out that we disagree, I hope that we disagree as siblings and not like some sort of warring factions. We're cool. That's my personal perspective about it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Last question is, do you have any questions for us?
I don't know if this is a question, but if I were to, and this applies to whether or not you appoint me, but I have learned a few things since the meeting on the 14th by speaking with a couple different developers, and I felt like that was more illuminating. That was very illuminating to me. One was an affordable housing developer, and two were folks that are regular developers, and just like rooting us in reality, like what is actually going to get built and what really like the threshold of a certain site is and what the vision is for that. And just really, I feel like it's a little discouraged to have direct conversations with developers, which I completely I think that that advice was based on something good, which is we don't want to prejudice ourselves or make ourselves look biased by speaking with one particular developer over another, or look like we're trying to play favorites, have a favoritism relationship with one developer or another. But I am not a developer and I don't do this, but the people who do it have really, really important insight. So something like an open forum or open symposium where developers could say like what is or what is not realistic, and anybody can attend and also anyone can listen. So it doesn't look like it's very public and it doesn't look like we're prejudicing ourselves. I did, for personal research, reach out to 3 of them, but that's because that portion, like our planning commission portion, is completed until you all send it to HCD and it comes back. So it's going to be a while. But I would think if we had the ability to tap people's brains and like figure out what's realistic, hopefully we would be able to find some sort of way that makes that look like knowledge sharing and knowledge gathering and not prejudicing or doing something on tawdry or not correct. And if you have questions about what I learned, I would be happy to write you a little email because, it's all about knowledge sharing and figuring out details, and it's all data. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate your application, and we'll see where it goes from here. When next get up, we're running out of time. Let's get into the next interview. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Got it. Janet, is Dan in the room?
He is.
Excellent. Welcome, Daniel. Dan, is your
Am I here?
available? Yes, you are here.
My
Welcome.
God, I just had to tap into old technologies I tried to forget.
Well,
when you're retired, you really don't want to do anything,
Welcome. It's good to have you here. And with that, Councilmember Diaz will have the first question for you.
Great.
Good evening, Dan.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning.
Morning? Wait.
Morning. I'm sorry.
Are you on the East Coast or are you over in Hawaii?
No, I'm trying to act professional here,
Ah, good. Hey, tell me why you want to be a planning commissioner, and if so, what skill set do you specifically bring to be a planning commissioner? I know your background, by the way,
Right.
from Walnut Creek, but give me a little bit on planning commission and your skill set.
Okay. The reason why I want to once again become a planning commissioner is because I really enjoyed the time. I love the community. I mean, the bottom line to everything I do here and the volunteerism I do is because I love the community. And we all know, all of you know, and most of us know that Clayton runs on the volunteerism. We are the folks that make this city go. And so an opportunity to be on the planning commission, I think, there's issues that the community is interested in that are coming forward. And I think I have the skills to help. One, I'm a good listener. I'm an active listener. I like to hear what people have to say. I like to look for common ground. I mean, I've spent a career in public service, and when they say a man or woman's home is their castle, so is their community. And so a lot of them are very, passionate about the things that are happening. And I've over the years been able to sit with passionate people and been able to work with them and get through some of the passion to where we can talk about what really counts, what's really important to them, and try to find common ground. And I think my number one skill is probably listening, I think.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Mute.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi, how are you? In your time as a planning commissioner in the past versus what you see now, what are some of the biggest differences that you see now in the community, having been here so long, that's motivated you to want to rejoin the planning commission?
Well, I see that our gene pool has gotten larger. I think there's new families and new people have come in. When I first moved here long ago, there was a lot of families and folks that had a long experience. They'd been in Clayton long before I had been here. And so they had some perspectives at that time. I think now we have a lot of new people that have come in with new and fresh perspectives. And we also are facing the state who once upon a time would ask you to do housing improvements and ask you to do things and then go away. And they didn't necessarily get the responses they wanted from communities in the state. And so they started putting a bit of a hammer in there with not really many carrots. And so they started asking us to do zoning. And I was on the planning commission when we first began some of that zoning activity, where the state had required that we remove impediments, that we don't have built-in impediments in our municipal code or our planning documents that prevent people from doing certain things. And so we had to begin with some of that. And I think we still see the state doing some of those things. And I think right now in the planning commission, we need people who do listen. And I think we need people who can explain what we're doing, because I think there's a lot of information out there and maybe not all of it's accurate, but certainly all of it is cause for pause. And so I think Clayton has gone through cycles over the years. We seem to be in a different cycle now. I believe we did the housing element when I was on the planning commission last. So it is an important document and we're going through it now. And I think that's what's different. I think our demographics have changed. I think we have new people in here now. That's what I think. I don't want to be too long-winded. You guys have got to be tired.
Just getting started.
It's getting late. It's past my bedtime. So I'm retired too. So how you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good, CW. How are you? I'm very well.
Good. You look good. And that's my question. No. Anyway, you're getting back into this again. And this is, at times the planning commission hears things that be controversial or subject to differing opinions among Clayton residents. So how do you approach those matters for which your perspective may be different from others? And how do you form your decisions based on those matters?
Well, the first thing is I don't form an opinion until I have all the facts. I listen to what people have to say. And again, I think the key to this is listening and listen to what people have to say. Oftentimes it's passionate. Oftentimes it's, a fear, that folks have. I'm talking about the more negative people. There are champions for every project, and there are people that don't want every project. And somehow in the planning commission, we have to sit down with the 5 team members, listen to all sides, gather as much information as we can from the community and from the staff, and be able to sit down and look at that and see how that translates to Clayton. The Clayton that we love, the environment that we all enjoy, what we moved here for, and see how that relates to us and whether it fits or it doesn't fit, and why it doesn't fit or why it does fit, and be able to articulate that to the community of why we think something should we should be in favor of something or not in favor of something. If that makes any sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Dan. Good to see you again.
Hi, good to see you, Councilmember Tillman.
My question is, you've already answered a little bit about your experience working with the housing element during your last time on Planning Commission. But if you were appointed now, how will you prepare yourself in order to be able to contribute effectively as a planning commissioner during this important process that we're going through right now, and that needs to be certified in January, because you're coming in at the tail end?
I need to get up to speed on it. I mean, I haven't read it. I haven't looked at it. I wouldn't be starting at ground zero. I mean, as a public works director in the city of Walnut Creek, I was involved in housing elements. I was involved in development projects. I mean, I had engineering and we did all current development and stuff. So I'm familiar with the planning process. We work very hand in glove with the community development department. So the first thing I'd want to do is get up to speed. And then once I got up to speed, then prepare myself to listen and to understand.
Thank you.
I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thanks, Dan. And last question I have is, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I guess no. Well, yeah, you know, I mean, if I were appointed, if I had the honor of being appointed, you know, I would want to ask you questions about how do you feel, you know, because the Planning Commission, we are your eyes and ears, in my view. I mean, we're the ones going to hold the initial public hearings. I mean, certainly the council can do what they want in what order they want. But the Planning Commission's role, in my sense, is to bring people in, to talk about the issues, to see what they are, to see what we're looking for. And it's also important to get a sense of the tone and tenor that the council has as well. So I guess I really don't have one now.
Thanks, Dan. Much appreciated. And I appreciate your application and coming.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Excellent. And with that, let's bring it back to the council for a conversation.
That's some really excellent interviews today for strong candidates.
So we have 4 candidates for 3 positions. And any council member would like to speak? I'm open for comments.
Well, I worked with Dan on the Planning Commission. I think you did too, Mayor. I know him as being apolitical, and I know that he's very detailed in his approach to planning. He's got a wealth of knowledge, and certainly support him. And the same goes for Rich, really. I mean, when you think about it, how lucky we are to have 2 people that have this kind of experience, willing to step up again. And so I would put my eggs in that basket as well. You know, I'm very much for, as you know from my past votes, I'm very much for giving someone the opportunity that has been in a short-term assignment to prove themselves with a full term. And so with Amy's experience now, just getting started on the Planning Commission, I'm thinking that it would be nice for her to have a full term. I think that she's certainly shown that she's deep in the weeds on a lot of issues, sometimes a bit long-winded, but I think that with those 3 people adding to the 2 that are existing now, I think we would have a very diverse and yet a very solid Planning Commission. So that's where I'm leaning today.
Thank you, council member. Oof. Any other comments from council members?
I'll go if nobody else wants to. I think that we would be I think we're lucky that Dan Richardson is willing to come back after his prior experience. And I didn't have the pleasure of knowing him, but I've heard nothing but great things from when he was on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought somebody was trying to say something. I think that the commissioners that are currently on there now could learn a lot from him. I think that he would be a great asset for all of them to kind of glean some of that knowledge from. I'm inclined to lean towards Maria. I mean, bless her, she's been here 3 times, which shows that she's definitely got the dedication and wants to do it. Again, and with her being new, I think that she can learn a lot from Dan, and she's got the experience that she says from the other arenas. And I know last time when we were voting, it was right there neck and neck with her and with Amy. I'm like CW, and given that Amy's been there in that seat just for a short time, the fact that she's willing to learn and do due diligence and try to do a little bit more digging is great. Excuse me. I also think that she can learn a lot from Dan as well. So then I'm torn then with Rich with having the experience and being able to bring some of that to the council, to the commission. And he is here in town a lot. I see him at all of the events. He does volunteer. And as Dan said, all of this is built on volunteerism, right? And so we do have 4 good candidates. So I'm curious to hear what the others have to say.
Councilmember 1. So you unmuted yourself before.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I had all this noise going on in my room, so I muted and they didn't stop. So then I unmuted. Yeah, I think 4 solid candidates, so that's great. That's it's great to have that available to us. I think the last go round when Amy applied, I believe I voted no at the time, just because I thought that her advocacy and her role in that capacity, wasn't really aligned with the what we seek in a planning commissioner. I think that the work she does is great. I've taken the time to kind of look at the organizations that she's a member of, so I thought those are great organizations, and more power to her. So I think of the 3, my view there really hasn't changed much. Nothing against her. I just think that a more neutrality there is greater desired than what the others bring to the table. You have 2 candidates with a lot of experience, and then you have Maria, who I don't know if she's either a glutton for punishment or or she or what I think is more realistic. She just really wants to be involved and, offer whatever she can to help the city. And I think that's a laudable goal. And in this case, I think that she's done the homework necessary, and I think she could do a great job. So I would go with those 3.
Is it my turn?
Councilmember Diaz, you are unmuted. Go for it.
I am unmuted. I really thank all 4 candidates for applying. I think 2 in particular would bring very strong experience to the Planning Commission, specifically at this time, as been noted. We need some knowledgeable individuals that are very well-versed in a whole variety of planning issues and housing type issues and so forth. And I see Dan Richardson and Rich Ania Sr. filling that role. I believe Maria would add a strong balance. And the one thing about Maria, she has been at every every city council meeting since I can remember, when she first applied the first time for the planning commission. And she obviously has the dedication to dig in there and provide some real positive things to the Planning Commission. I think she would offer a good third personality, one that listens and has brevity in her vocabulary, then would be a good listener, a thoughtful person, and somebody that would bring knowledgeable decisions from the Planning Commission. So in summary, my three choices would be Dan Richardson, Richard Ania, and Maria Schulman. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember Diaz. I have a lot of gratitude for the 4 candidates that applied. I appreciate each of their desire to serve our city. It's important to have members and residents stand up and be a part of our Planning Commission. I served the Planning Commission for 3 years, and I'm very familiar with Dan Richardson's tutelage as the chair of the Planning Commissioner when I was a freshman Planning Commissioner, and he often gave me a side eye when I was out of bounds and didn't know the rule of order for how to speak and when to speak. He runs a darn good meeting. So there is a certain experience he brings that I appreciate, and I'm glad that he's put his application in. I don't know which Ania's sitting here, but I liked his answers. I appreciate, I've met him a few times, and we've been cordial. I don't know him in detail that well, but I liked his answers. I like his experience. I think he brings a lot to that. Fortunately, I'm still in a similar place I was not too many months ago, deciding between 2 candidates. And just saying, from my standpoint, I know what the Planning Commission is supposed to be. It's a body that has an advisory capacity to the City Council. It calls balls and strikes. It's not an advocacy position. And in last interviews, I said we have a pro-housing and an anti-housing candidates, and I was torn. And it was painful for me to make a decision. It's similarly challenging for me now. I appreciate Maria's love and desire and passion. And Amy has a similar passion. It's very driven based on her experience and what she does for a living. She is an advocate. That's what she does for a living. I'm concerned that she hasn't separated that advocacy from the position that she's holding on the Planning Commission. That's where I'm fighting. I appreciate all the effort she puts in there to get educated, to learn what's going on. That is something that is important for a Planning Commissioner to do. But I'm still challenged. It's the balls and strikes position. It's not an advocacy position, and that's where I'm having a challenge.
Well, listening to the comments here, I, for one, would like to see whoever we put on the commission as a unanimous vote. I mean, I really would like to see that for a change. I don't know if we can achieve that here or not, but judging by what I'm hearing, with 4 great candidates for 3 positions, this is a tough one. I understand where you're wrestling, Mayor, but I'll go with the majority here. Let's discuss if we can get to a consensus where we're all generally comfortable with these great 4 choices.
Well, I mean, I think we've had a little bit, so I guess I would make the motion that we would appoint Mr. Enia, Mr. Richardson, and Ms. Schulman for the 3 spots.
I'll
So-
second.
Well, it looks like we're going to get to a position then.
Kenneth, you have a first by Councilor Juan, a second by Vice Mayor Tillman. Could you call the roll, please?
Sure. Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Yes.
Mayor Cloven.
Aye.
Great.
With that, we have 3 new commissioners, planning commissioners. We're looking forward to your serving and being a part and advising us as we need to be advised as a city council for the term to come. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
And before we leave from here, I mean, they're not gone yet, but I do want to thank the commissioners who have been serving. So we've got Amy, we'll have the chair, who's Terry Denslow, who did not reapply. And then we also have Commissioner Gavidia, who also did not reapply. And so I think that would be remiss if we didn't thank them for their service. And Amy, if you're still on, I don't have the list up right now. Thank you for reapplying. I hope that you won't give up on trying to do it again, but if you were listening in to hear kind of what we were wrestling with or some of the thoughts from others, do reapply if something else does open up again within the next year or so. I think it's happening again next year, if not sooner, if anybody else decides to, run this November. But thank you for your service. I know that you did serve for a short amount of time. I do think that your insight that you were trying to give to us is invaluable, especially as we're trying to do this housing element. And some of the questions that you did ask, long-winded or not. I don't have an issue with people who don't instill brevity. But thank you for doing that, because it showed to me that you were thorough in what you were trying to get to, which is helping us make the decisions that we're going to have to make, especially on Thursday. So thank you.
Yeah, I reiterate the same things. Of course, thank you for your service. It takes a lot to step up and put yourself out there, no matter what the outcome, and that goes a long way. So thank you.
I want to reiterate that as well, thanking all 3 of the outgoing commissioners for their service, for stepping up, for taking a chance on doing this. So thank you.
Agreed. It's hard work. The meetings are a bit arduous, trying to get up to speed to figure out what the positions are and what's being presented to you. It's difficult, Maria, and you have a challenge ahead of you. Fortunately, Dan and Jim are experienced with that. We're looking forward to what you can bring, but thank you to the 3 that are leaving. You are appreciated. Thank you.
You accidentally called Rich Jim.
Did I?
Yeah.
I beg your pardon. Rich, I meant Rich. All right. Rich, Dan, and Maria. All right. With that, we're going to close our item number 2, which is the planning commissioner portion of the meeting, and get into our regular public meeting. And it's now 7:10. We're going to go on to item number 3, which is the roll call. Called order, which I've just done. Janet, can you call the roll again? I suppose that's what you've asked for on the agenda.
Sure. Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Here.
Councilmember Wolf,
Here.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Here.
and Mayor Cloven.
I am here. And with that, can we move on to item number 4, which is the meeting protocol video. That's all you, Janet.
Okay, let's see. I am not sure if the sound is going to work on the video. And I'm saying that because my usual, oh, here it goes. Never mind. Sorry.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar pursuant to the provisions of the AB 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is also being webcast on the City of Clayton's website. The mayor will call upon its council, presenters, staff, and other speakers by name and ask that they speak clearly and state their names before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via webcast and Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members of the public participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. Telephone attendees will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their name, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received by the Clayton City Clerk by 5 p.m. today will be entered into the record but will not be read out loud. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they are free to do so and should raise their hand and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. The chat feature is not active. In order to get the full Zoom experience, please make sure your application is up to date.
Thank you very much, Janet. Much appreciated. And with that, we're going to move on to item number 5. And since we're virtual, once again, Councilmember Diaz, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. And with that, we'll move on to item number 6, the consent calendar. Are there any items in the consent calendar which a council member would like to have removed for discussion?
I will move approval before public comment.
Seeing that no items are being requested for removal, we will move it to public comment. Janet, this is the time for you to speak on any items that are in the consent calendar, items 6A through H. Do we have any hands, Janet?
Mayor Cloven, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
Excellent. We'll bring it back to the council. We have a first for approval by Councilmember Diaz. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Councilmember Wolf. Janet, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Aye.
Mayor Cloven.
Aye. And with that, it carries 5-0. We move on to item number 7, which is recognitions and presentations, for which we have 9. And then on to item number 8, which is reports. And we'll start off with item 8A, which is our city manager and staff report. Raina, it's all you.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Nothing specific for this evening. We are still virtual this evening. I'm hoping that by July we'll be able to be back in person as COVID numbers really continue to come down in Contra Costa County. It's a busy summer season. Happy first day of summer. If you hadn't noticed, it's probably still 100 degrees out. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Raina. Much appreciated. We'll move on to item 8B, which is city council reports. And let's start off with Councilmember Diaz, please.
Thank you. The only thing I have to report was the fact that we had a spectacular concert in the Grove last Saturday. I don't think we could have got another body into the Grove Park. It was amazing. The team collected over $3,800. I haven't heard from the Honorable Howard Geller, so apparently he must be pleased with that. So because it succeeded the last time he promoted this event, and they got, I think, like $2,400. But it was a great event, a lovely evening, beautiful weather, and it was a great concert. That was it. And I'm working on with the Clayton barbecue cook-off committee, and we are moving ahead with that. And it's going to be another one of our stellar events on the 9th and 10th of July. And I know that the 3 co-chairs Steve Pierce, Steve Biggs, and Mr. Wolf are working diligently on making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. We'll go to you, Councilmember One.
Yeah, I had a lot of phone calls with various folks around town, but and then also I don't remember the exact day, but I had the pleasure of being given a tour of the city by Sergeant Shaw when I went on a ride along on his patrol for one of the evenings here in Clayton. It wasn't a night like tonight where we were crazy hot. It was an actual enjoyable night to be out and about. And you know, I just want to again thank Sergeant Shaw for taking the time to do that with me. You know, he gave me the whole 9 yards of a tour, both of the police station, which is great. I haven't seen the inside of a police station that often. And you know, we went all around town, and he just went through his normal business, but the level of professionalism and you know, care that he took in performing his role, and just, you know, his openness to questions and just how things operate it was a great experience that I had. So I really appreciated him taking the time, and it was just a great thing to do. I've been wanting to do it since I came on, but unfortunately COVID happened, and I didn't think that was a great time. But you know, now it's like, well, I really wanted to. So anyways, thank you again to Sergeant Shaw if he's listening. If not, I already thanked him anyway. So that was it.
Thanks, Councilmember One. That's awesome. Councilmember Wolf, you're up next.
I remember those ride-along days with my dad when I was a kid, and some of those got a little tense. So I guess you're lucky you were in Clayton. Okay, so happy summer. Met with our mayor and our city manager. I met several times with the Pride Committee, including with Sergeant Ania, our assistant city planner, our community development director and maintenance, with regard to all the security and logistics that are going on with that parade that's coming up this Saturday downtown at 10 a.m. I had a meeting with our CBCA president. Also have met several times, as Councilmember Diaz mentioned, with the various incarnations of the barbecue cook-off committees. We have a great event scheduled. Things are really starting to ramp up now. And we're looking forward to July 9th and 10th. There was a miscommunication, I think, with the paper and whether or not the start time was noon or 11. It's 11 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 on Sunday. So it'll be great. Lots of food and stuff down there. I also, let's see, I took some calls and emails this week, and most of them were, or several of them were, about the paving that's going on around town and when that's going to get done and stuff like that. So I think talked with Raina, and we're getting that all squared away. I want to take this opportunity to thank the principals for their diligence and their leadership on the Do the Right Thing program this year. It was really nice to have them participating. The students, I applaud them again. We will get back to it in September, starting with inclusion and the other pillars as we go forward, and to honor those students again in the next school year. So thank you to the wonderful principals. I think, yeah, that looks like. I did the Pride banner raising as well. I forgot that. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wolf. Vice Mayor Tillman, your report, please.
Mine is fairly brief. I attended the Cal Cities Community Services Committee meeting, which was on, it's virtual, which was on Thursday the 9th. And we had 3 guest speakers. One was from Roanoke, I cannot say this word, Roanoke Park. I don't know why I can't say that. It's like a tongue twister. And she was giving an update on parks and open space and access to that during COVID. Apparently cities that are not as fortunate as us to have this right in our backyard had a lot of red tape that they had to go through to be able to give their residents access to those in their area. We also heard from a gentleman down in Corona, the fire chief, and he was giving us an update, excuse me, on, they're called, give me 1 second, let me get to my notes here. Fire safety councils are what a lot of cities have. Corona is now starting theirs. They're about 2/3 of the way with planning that. His explanation was it's 10 or so residents that form your board, and it really is to be kind of an additional group that can assist the fire department in making sure that all your residents are aware of all of the various things that they need to do around the area, having evacuation points and really determining what the best ones are for different areas. And he was imploring all of us within the state to do this. He says if for us in the Bay Area, if we wanted to look at a bellwether town that is doing a great job in terms of community engagement and actually implementing this, it was Marin. And so I will send that, I'll send it around to the rest of the council, and maybe we could put the document that he gave us on the city website just for residents to kind of get a feel for and see if that's something that people do want to start. I would highly encourage it, given that Contra Costa County, I believe he said, is ranked 6th in the state. And we're at 49% of fire risk. This is not news to any of us. We also heard from a gentleman who works for the governor's office, and it was a new position. His name was Vance Taylor, excuse me. And his talk was about disaster preparedness and having access and functional needs. That's the office that he heads up. He does have a disability. He's in a wheelchair, and he is actually deployed whenever there are fires or emergencies out anywhere in California. I mean, he gave the example of a lot of cities think that they're doing a great job having shelters in place, and then residents show up, and those who need access can't get to the showers because they've erected poles right in the middle of the door frame, and they don't realize that it's not handicap accessible. Or whether or not it's having handicap accessible porta potties. But it's not just for those who have disability or needs. It could be women who are in their 3rd trimester of pregnancies. It could be people who are hard of hearing and making sure that there's ASL interpreters on hand on the ground so that people can actually communicate with them, or different languages. All of those things, it's his office's task with making sure that all of these happen at various events or disasters in the state. And so he was just giving us an update on that. And he had a lot of great resources on the Cal OES website. And I'll also give that link for Raina to share, just so people can be involved and something to share with I'm sure our fire department and police department probably already have all of this already, but just in case. I also had meetings with Raina, just one. I was still recovering from COVID. So that June 9th meeting was the last one that I did. And then I did field some phone calls and emails from people when I can get back to them. But now I'm fully recovered again. Stay masked up. I'm going to keep doing that same spiel. Again, 2 boosters, so 4 shots total, and still caught it twice in the last 3 months. I can't keep doing this every quarter. So stay safe. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Tillman. Appreciate it. Just as a reminder, or kind of as a note, that when asked about meeting virtually versus in person this month, I made a conscious decision that it's not time yet. I know multiple people, well over a dozen in Clayton, that currently have COVID. It's affecting staffing. It's affecting volunteers. It's rampant. And right now, it's important to keep our current staff healthy to get us through these next couple of weeks. And so I chose to go virtual until July, and we'll see what happens then. I'm hoping we are back in person on July 19th. Keep our fingers crossed. I did attend a TransPAC meeting on July 9th where we reviewed our annual work plan and budget for the coming year, as well as looked at funding for elder and disabled transportation services, in which nonprofits were to get those funds. One of the things in the work plan was a conscious effort to look at transportation in the future relative to all of our Contra Costa County cities, and how we're having to deal with that housing element. We're not alone. Every city that is in our TransPAC district is being hammered with significant additional housing that we have to zone for. So what is the transportation needs that are going to need to be addressed associated with that? And TransPAC is looking at that. I was honored not only to read the proclamation of Otter Day last city council meeting, but actually to present it to them and have hundreds, kids around me as I read the proclamation again and their parents, and I presented it to the head coach, Nikki. And it was awesome. It was a great experience. They are doing their annual pentathlon this weekend. So if you live in Danny Hills, get out. It's going to be packed with over 1,000 swimmers from all over the place are coming to this annual event, and they are looking forward to having it to be one of their premier fundraisers and go-to events in Contra Costa County this year for the swimming season. I did attend the CDCA barbecue. I'm really excited about all the work's being done by CW and everybody else is on that committee. It's going to be a great event, and looking forward to seeing what happens. And lastly, Jim, you were absolutely correct. The concert in the park last Saturday was phenomenal. The estimates are over 3,000 people. Yes, I had heard that we had collected just under $3,500. If it's 38, even better. Just everybody danced all night long, and just in a positive, great mood. What a way to celebrate who we are as a city and what we do. It's great to have these City of Clayton sponsored events be what they are, and we enjoy and can showcase our city to many people who travel with these bands and come here for the first time and then stay afterwards and dine in our restaurants and go, wow, that's a cool little city, because we are. With that, that's the end of my reports. I'm going to close item 8B and move on to item number 9, which is public comments. And as I say every meeting, this is your time in the public to take your 3 minutes and address us as a city council as a whole. Please don't address any one council member. And if you do so with respect. If you have a contrary opinion, that's fine. But this is about being kind and having integrity and being respectful. We're all here trying to do the best work we can do on your behalf. And while we may disagree, we're still doing the best we can. I do want to acknowledge that there were some letters that came in late at about 5 o'clock prior to when we started the 6th, and they have been posted on the city website. And so those are available for the public to read. And with that, Janet, do we have any hands for public comment?
I do.
It's the mayor's.
I have a couple that just went up. Chris, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Clayton City Council. This is Chris Van Loo, resident here in Clayton, California, up on Easley Drive. And my question this evening is mostly surrounding the Pride Parade that's coming up this weekend. I'm just wondering, how long this has been in the planning, and I acknowledge this is the first council meeting. I did read last month's council meeting. This is the first one I've joined in a long time, but I'm curious of what the impetus was and how much discussion there was around bringing the event to the city. Obviously, the citizens can come and engage through a platform like this, which I'm very appreciative of. And I'm just kind of wondering what the impetus was, how the resolution was adopted and brought forward. And did it come from within the city? Did it come from outside of the city? So again, impetus and planning to get to this stage is my question around this upcoming event this weekend.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
Are we gonna? And I mean, that's a quick answer, Chris. Is it that the Pride Parade is a private event? It's not sponsored by the city, and it's organized by a group of individuals who, are seeking city permits to do their event, and that's essentially how it came to be. There's really no input or direction given from the city. It's a private affair.
It's fully private. It's fully paid for by funds. They are paying for all the city services at the going rate. There is no discount. It is an expression of freedom of speech, and There's city council did not approve or review it because it wasn't necessary to do so. So that's the answer to your question. Thank
And
you.
it's this weekend. So
It is this weekend.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? Any hands raised? Please, Janet.
Yes, I do have another hand raised. Roy, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you hear me?
Greetings, Roy. Welcome back.
Hey, yeah. Hi, how are you? Yeah, just got some quick comments. And I'll be, and there's really just some kind of bullet items, if I can say it that way. Okay. A couple of things. Well, one is I did read, Mr. Cloven, your article in the Pioneer, and just a quick comment on that article itself. I treated that, that was really, in my view, a political positioning kind of article. I didn't get anything from on the city itself, on the town itself, with respect to events upcoming, whether it's a pancake breakfast, whether it's any event. And if you look at the other, of course, the other towns, mayors, and that were shown there in Pioneer. We're having a pancake, we're having this, we're having that, we're having all these things. Nice, proud of the town, right? Tout it. All right, that's what they were doing. They were marketing. They were selling the town. All right, and so it was read in your article again with your political positioning, and I'm not going to get all the details on that. Okay, second item, I would say that there was reference to the survey, and I think I commented a couple of weeks ago when it first came out, when the gentleman was there who authored it. I questioned its validity altogether, because the questions that they were asked were not constructed in such a way that clinically you could really make some sound conclusions. Okay, and so another comment: the weeds going on. And all of the condition of downtown Clayton and city in general, downtown Clayton, it's an eyesore, period. Okay. And there's a lot of words being spent every week for the last 2 years, and not a doggone thing is being done. Okay. There's staffing, but that staffing needs direction. And I don't think there's enough leadership. There's leadership to make that happen. That's a quick one on that. Okay. And it's on, so the comment about, it's on Roundup. Seriously, there are other towns and major towns, cities, small, big and large, that don't use Roundup. So, rationalization, okay, just in my view. And I'm being critical here because I live here and I love this town. And I've seen it decline, especially in the last 2 years. The other comment, just quickly before I run out of time, clean it up. It's a gateway to Mount Diablo. The other one that really continues to bother me is political norms. The majority council here broke with political norms the last 2 years in a row. And that is the source of these. Hello? Okay.
About 5 seconds left, Roy.
Well, okay. My screen went blank. And that is a serious situation that this council created and continues to create. We have a vice mayor.
Roy, at the time,
No, don't cut me off. Give me a couple of seconds and I'll stop. Okay. If you've done it before. Let me get it out, please. Okay.
Roy, I give everybody 3 minutes. I've heard your comments and I appreciate them.
Well, let me finish. You've got others historically the precedent to let people speak. Give me a second.
Roy, you have 3 minutes. You are done. Thank you very much for your time. Next time, make sure you have your 3 minutes tight.
Mr. Cloven, this is what the problem with our town. It's a leadership problem.
I appreciate your position. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have any other hands up, Janet?
Mayor Cloven, I do not have any other hands raised on this item.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And with that, we will close item number 9, public comment, and we'll move on to item number 10, which is public hearings. And we'll start off with item number 10A, which is a public hearing and a recommended adoption of the resolution adopting the annual budget of the city of Clayton for fiscal year 2022-23, commencing in July of 2022, ending in June of 2023. And the appropriations limit for 5-year capital improvement program for fiscal years 2022 and 23 through 2026 and 27. That's a mouthful. We'll give it to you now.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. And I want to first just take the opportunity, I meant to do it before. Joanna Jin is sitting in from BBK for Mala, who is out this week. So Joanna, thank you for being with us, serving as our city attorney this evening. So I just wanted to, you probably all figured that out by now, but just wanted to make sure that that was clear. I have a brief presentation on the budget this evening, and then both Finance Director Catherine Corsack and I are here to answer any questions. I will go ahead and start the presentation. I'm going to hope now that you see one slide, right? Did I get that right? Excellent. Okay, great. The item before you this evening, as the mayor read, is the public hearing for the FY 22-23 annual budget, setting the appropriations limit for the year, as well as adopting the 5-year capital improvement program. I will say before I start, there's a typo in the resolution. In one of the next to last paragraphs, it just has the year wrong and establishes the appropriations limit for 21-22. That should be 22-23. So we will correct that before the final resolution is signed and posted. So with that, just briefly, you may remember that the council set goals earlier this year. They included, and most relevantly to this evening, to pursue a structurally sustainable budget, but also to identify what it takes to support staff in terms of technology and tools to bring the city into the 21st century and to present a compliant housing element. The budget really addresses those first two this evening, and the housing element is actually going to be heard by the council at a special meeting on Thursday. So it's a week for all of your goals. The table that is in front of you now is a summary of the direction that was received from the council at the end of the meeting on June 7th that looks at with all of the budgetary demands and revenues that we anticipate coming in, some use of the American Rescue Plan Act funds through our Pandemic Recovery Reserve, as well as some one-time, I think really critically needed additions that I'm actually quite excited about and quite appreciative of. They are great investments in our ability to develop and maintain a sustainable organization and ultimately a sustainable budget. Those include a 1-year appointment for a full-time senior accountant, software and services to digitize records, increased IT support, as well as the organizational assessment that came up at the end of the last meeting. After all of those costs are taken into account, the anticipated reserve balance in the Pandemic Recovery Reserve going into FY 22-23 that is not yet assigned for any particular purpose is just over $1.4 million, or essentially our second tranche of funding is fully available to the council for FY 23. And the council did discuss at their June 7th meeting categories for ultimately being able to prioritize spending, and at some point those additional dollars will be available for council discussion for appropriation. Other than the dollars from that Pandemic Recovery Reserve that are listed on this table, there are no other proposed spending from those funds in FY23. Just a reminder that as we identified in the budget document, there are a number of areas for policy improvement, including a pension and OPEB policy. Those are expensive items for us, not so much OPEB, but pension is certainly an expensive item for us and something that we need to make sure that we are managing carefully. A reserve policy, as well as coming back around and looking at our investment policy and investment management. This is a sort of a small print, even on a Zoom screen, but the picture is fairly clear. Revenues are in blue. Unfortunately, that line is below the revenue, the expenditures that are in green. This mirrors essentially in graphic form the tables and projections that were discussed with the council earlier this year when we were looking at the 10-year forecast. So just a reminder that even though the lines come together for FY22-23, they don't stay together on the natural, and we do have continued work to do in both looking at our expenditures and identifying opportunities for efficiencies, as well as looking at potential revenue measures. So for this evening, the council has had a lot of discussion and dialogue on the budget to date. That's how we got to the recommendation that's in front of you this evening. For this evening, our recommendation is to open the public hearing. First, we'll take questions if there are any questions for clarification. Open the public hearing, receive public comment, close the public hearing, deliberate, and then respectfully request that the resolution and all of the components are adopted for the FY23 budget. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can all see each other. And Catherine and I are available for questions and any additional items. Thank you.
And with that, we'll open it up to the City Council for questions of our staff. All right, that's a good start. Let's open it up, if you don't mind. If there's no questions from council, let's open it up to the public. At this point, the public has a chance to raise their hand and talk about what has been presented. You have 3 minutes on this particular topic. And are there any hands that are raised? Janet?
Yes, I do have one hand raised. James, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, Council. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for the great work that you have done over the last 2 or 3 years or 4 years as you served on the council. I think, as you reach this period, with my experience serving the Chevron Board of Directors and also with all the other budgets I've done at Chevron, working through $10 million budgets or $50 million budgets or $1 billion budgets, the key things that makes a good director or a good finance manager, especially when you have very tight times as we are right now, and also with structural deficiencies in our revenue stream, is being pragmatic and going through all the different paperwork that's provided by the city. I can say to you, I feel pretty confident our city manager is very pragmatic with bringing out the budget and giving you choices if you decide that you want to whittle the budget down. But I do believe it's a good, very good job by the city manager. My other concern here is that there's 2 key things when I look at the budget. One is the revenue deficiency or structural deficiency, and that's something the council will need to work on over the next 2 years. It poses a lot of challenges to the city, obviously dealing with potentially, let me say, looks like from what I see here is, and what I've heard is that employees are underpaid. And the second thing that has to deal with that structural deficiency is what I call business continuity. When I work with the board of directors, that is one of the principal concerns of a company is to identify who is the next person to take a job. So that way you don't have a continuity issue. So the question is from the council, this is more from a vision perspective, but to look at it from a budgetary perspective too, in upcoming budgets, maybe not this one, but maybe the next year's round, but to make sure if the city manager was to leave, that assistant city manager would be able to assume that role fully. Same thing with a police sergeant to become a police chief, and likewise a senior accountant to become a CFO. We're a small city, but that would require paying those people a second in command to have that money there and have the training also available to them. And so again, that's the two things that I see in this budget. I appreciate all the work you're doing as a council. It is tough when you don't have the revenue streams to do everything you want to do. And I would just encourage you not to try to nickel and dime things. You can put a plug out there and to make sure that the emphasis to the city manager is to look at making cuts as needed to balance the budget next year. Thanks again for your work. Bye.
James, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your kind words. I do concur. We do have a pragmatic budget and appreciate what's been brought forward. Janet, are there any other hands on this particular item?
Mayor Cloven, I do not have any other hands raised on this item.
Thank you, Janet. And with that, we'll bring it back to City Council for discussion. Closed public comment. Public comment is officially closed, and we'll bring it back to City Council for discussion. Councilmember 1.
I would just reiterate, I think that what's before us here is reflective of what we discussed at the last meeting. I don't see any significant deviations from that. Do I understand that correctly, you think? So I would just reiterate the comments that I made in the prior meeting. I do think that utilizing reserve funding for budget stabilization without any cuts is irresponsible. And I think that it does continue to kick the can down the road. With the projections that we have, any spending of reserves and not making cuts now will make it much harder going forward. And essentially what this represents is a bet on the future, betting that either one of a few possible outcomes will happen. Either the costs will come dramatically down, which I think is unlikely, or our revenues will increase. And the only way that happens significantly is with a tax increase. And if I'm looking at people and saying, would you be willing to pay more taxes? If I can't also simultaneously tell them that the city is making every cut that it can, but this is a last resort rather than a first resort, then I would never support a tax increase in that scenario. And I think that's irresponsible to do so. And we need to position ourselves to be in a position that's sustainable going forward. And what we're doing, what is presented here is not a sustainable solution. And when we have the opportunity to advance something that is sustainable, I think it's irresponsible and short-sighted to do anything otherwise. So I know that is not the view of my fellow council members, and that's fine. But that is, I continue to hold that belief. Using reserve funds to cover operational expenses is just generally a bad practice, and I would not support it.
I don't see them the federal funds as being reserve funds. I think that's a misnomer. They're not coming out of our $5 million reserve. I think we need this stopgap measure to continue. As you know, this is a very tentative time, and knowing that we're not going to get a tax increase until we inform the citizens as to what our dire straits are. The small cuts that are being offered are not enough, in my opinion. I think people will be reasonable as time goes forward. The more that they learn, and knowing that 94% of our citizens are satisfied with the way the city is and the services that they receive, I can't imagine that they're not going to want to support those services going forward. So that's my position.
I mean, there is no differentiation between the reserve dollars that we have, the 5 million that you referenced, and the ARPA funding. The characteristics of those funds, there is no daylight between them. And, money is fungible. So the fact that it is essentially the same pool of dollars with the same requirements, you can call it whatever you want, but I mean, I feel like that's just a story that you can tell yourself if it makes you feel better. But it is in all but name reserve funding. There's no difference. And the cuts may be small, but at least they're cuts. At least it's an effort to be made. And the fact that we can make cuts to literally have a balanced budget rather than using reserve dollars, but we are choosing to use reserve dollars. It's your decision. You can vote on it and do it if you want. I just think it's terrible. And I would advocate against any tax measure without any cuts. Like, I will strongly advocate against raising taxes if you're not willing to cut, because that to me is just completely irresponsible.
And again, I do see it differently as far as the federal funding is a separate fund. You can call it reserves, you call it whatever you want, make yourself feel better. Bottom line is they gave us the money. We're very lucky to have it. We have an abundance of it, enough to carry us forward for the next couple of years until people can be well informed. And I think that's the way to go.
If I could jump in here, I agree with both of your comments, Jeff and you. First of all, I think at this time in our existence, and I've said it before, we're blessed that we have this extra money coming from Washington. However, the bottom line is it's coming out of your and my pockets. If you don't kid yourself that this is money that is somehow a gift from above. No, it came out of our tax dollars that we pay every year that go to Washington, and somehow they figured out a way to get some of it back. So, but I think bottom line wise, we being in the position that we are, we're fortunate to have it at this time, and I don't oppose using it. I believe we have some real tough work to do. We're going to have to sit down and come and I've advocated to our city manager, if we need to have an open meeting just to sit down and talk about this unrestrained, I'm for that. If we need to have a closed session in order to really be able to unload, we need to have that as well. And I don't care how she gets around it. I don't care how BBK gives us advice, good or bad. We need to have some sort of a closed door session where we can sit down and talk with among the five of us, very candidly on how we're going to address this situation going forward. Don't use up all of that money from ARPA that we've been blessed with to get, but we need to sit down and talk brass tacks on how we're going to fix and address this problem going forward. I agree with what we're going to do to get us through the next fiscal year. Again, don't kid yourself. That money comes out of your and my pocket every year, every April 15th, when we send money back to Washington. I don't know about you if you get away with not sending any money. I don't. I have to send them money every year. And so I know it's a little bit of that, along with everybody from Arkansas to Florida to New York, it's coming back to us. But I am not opposed to it. But we need to have a brass tacks meeting, closed door or otherwise. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the dialogue. I would support your position there, and go further that we need to sit down and have an unabashed conversation with the public as we go forward.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Something as important as this, so that we're actually hashing out exactly what we're trying to get to, so that everybody that lives in town can benefit from it. So not just from the staff in City Hall, but to the residents who feel as though our town is struggling and suffering, I think were some of the terms that I heard and saw in some letters and on social media. Suffering strong. Yes, there are people who definitely needed some use of the ARPA funds to help them get by, businesses as well. They were suffering, they were struggling. Having weeds, is it unsightly? Sure, but our town isn't suffering from that. What we're suffering from is a structural issue with being able to have fully staffed City Hall, people who can actually do the work of making sure that our infrastructure is set up, right? So that's what staff has been nicely pounding the table for. I would say they're softly tapping. I'm going to pound the table for them more every time I get a chance to say they have been saying it's an issue. They need to bring their technology up to speed so that they are not living with things that were just written on pieces of paper, in PDFs, et cetera. They need things to be digitized. These are things that have to happen. So us not getting a stipend or cutting that or cutting the commissioner's stipend, congratulations, you just got appointed and you're not going to get 1 penny for it, to me seems silly. We talked about this the last meeting. I think that those are kind of ceremonial cuts. Those aren't real cuts to me. If we're going to do something, let's do something bigger. And since if there is a proposed tax measure that's not coming online until November 24, that gives us 2 years to inform the residents on exactly what our deficits are and the issues that we're trying to fix. I'll give you some examples. As working with the Pride Committee and I was on the budget piece of that, just trying to make sure that we were doing everything above board with the Rainbow Community Center and making sure that all of that was set up properly. And our staff has all of these events that are coming back to back. You've got the parade, you've got the 4th of July, you've got the barbecue. Oktoberfest will be happening in October. You just have the art and wine. We are a tiny staff. If we don't have forms that are in PDF where you can actually fill them out online, people really have to print them out, bring them to them, hand fill them out by hand, like we're in 1950. This is crazy. All of these things should be electronic. I think streamlining all of those efforts will go a long way to being able to free up time. For example, the other things that staff are doing are being reactive to a lot of the information that they're getting from residents about a tree being down or a sprinkler being broken in the park, et cetera. So when there are residents who are complaining, rightfully so, that things are broken or that something is broken in town, staff appreciates it, but we can't be reactive where we're running out every single time somebody says that, because what ends up happening is something else isn't getting done. So we have to have a priority structure. So let me tell you what I'm going to do and what I'm willing to do. No, you don't get to take my stipend away. I wouldn't vote for that, but I'm willing to actually put in time to go down to City Hall, and I've offered this to Raina, to help them streamline all of this. If that means that I have to help you put processes in place, I'm literally willing to go do that this summer to help that happen. I'm willing to put my time there. So my time is money. I'm not going to get paid for that. I don't want to. I'm going to volunteer to help. I've already told her that. Other people in town can do that too. They need help. And so we're trying to give them, the senior accounting position that they need. We know that they have to digitize things. All of these things are important. And if we want to talk about actually raising revenues, we can talk about that discussion as soon as this budget is passed and staff can breathe. But we have time. We have time to do all of these processes, see where we are between now and next year, or even the mid-year budget, and actually come up with tangible solutions to, do we really need to make cuts, and what can those be that really do cut into that and actually give them the infrastructure that they need? Because there's a lot of things that they need to bring them up to speed in this century. It's 2022, and there is zero reason why people need to be begging. They're not even really asking for higher salaries. They're just asking, can you help us not be staying up all night, working on these, fixing all of the things that residents are asking them to fix, which do need to be fixed, but they only have so many hours in the day to do it on the limited staff that they have. And I would like to personally see us have more staff on board to help them, but we can't get there yet. There are a lot of other things that we have to get up to speed on. And once we do what Jim mentioned, which was what exactly are people doing during the day? How is their time allotted? All of that right now, it's playing whack-a-mole with all of the deluge of complaints that keep coming in and being reactive to it. And that is not a way to function. I would like to see us where we get to staff having a procedure and a process. So if someone says that there's a broken sprinkler, maintenance can add that to their to-do list and prioritize it. But I don't even know that we have that yet because they've been so behind the 8 ball with trying to get things done and being reactive. And it's not a way to run a city. And I think that staff would agree to that. So I'm all for making cuts, but not the ones that were mentioned. I just think that that's just kind of a tick the box and say that I did it so that I can put it on social media and say and brag. That's not a real cut. And I mentioned that the last meeting. Let's do real cuts if we want to do it, but I'm fully on board with what we have in plan for tonight.
One final comment. I'd like to use an old adage from my careers in the private sector. Work smarter, not harder. Thank you.
Hey, Jim, quite frankly, I believe that the staff efficiency study, which you're looking to have done, will do some wonders to helping us understand how inefficient our staff is because they're doing so many other things besides their actual job. Is the finance director actually directing our finance? No, she's being an accountant. Is our city manager actually managing us? She's doing so many other things because she's down staffed. And I think this what you're asking for, Jim, is brilliant. And I think that is going to tell us more than you can possibly know. So thank you for making that suggestion last time. I truly appreciate it. I want to go another step further. I want to personally thank James Kelleran for being so involved in this budget process and for reaching out to the council members to talk about it. He has a wealth of experience and knowledge and finance, and he's also very much loves Clayton. It's very much apparent in his presentation and his talking to us. He's not the only one. I've had 3 other residents ask me when I've mentioned the possibilities of a citizens advisory committee on our budget, if they could be a part of that, who have extensive backgrounds in finance and business. And they are apolitical. They are both sides of the spectrum, and they want to be a part of the citizens advisory committee. We get this group of trusted individuals. They're all 30-year residents. Looking at what we have and then telling the story, giving them permission to tell the story about where we are and what we do, and then listening to their ideas of what the cuts should be or what the increases should be. That's what I'm all for, because we have some incredibly talented people who love the city, who aren't elected, that I think are going to be the trusted individuals that our pollster told us about, that they can get the word out. And I want to support them in doing so when that time comes. Right now, this budget gets us through. Yes. Jeff, is there a possibility for cuts to come? Yes. Is there a possibility for increases to come? Yes. I hope you're, if the time does come 2 years from now that we do consider putting something on the ballot, that you're not actively campaigning against it, and that we'll have come to some solution where all of us are in the right, all of us are agreeing with what our direction is. Are there any items for discussion on this? If not, I'd entertain a motion for item number 9A.
Motion.
10A, to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a first by Councilmember Wolf, a second by Vice Mayor Tillman. Janet, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz,
A reluctant yes.
Councilmember Juan,
No.
Councilmember Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Aye.
Mayor Cloven.
That is yes. And with that, the item number 10A passes 4-1, and we'll move on to item number 10B, which is a public hearing and the recommended adoption of the resolution approving the city's master fee schedule for fiscal year 2022-23 and certain user benefit regulatory and mental fees. And with that, we'll go to our finance director. Catherine, you are on.
I can't share my screen. It says it's disabled. Sorry. All right, can you see the master fee schedule screen? Great, okay. Good evening, Mayor Cloven, Vice Mayor Tillman, and council members. In your agenda package, you'll find the staff report, which outlines the proposed master fee schedule for the coming year, 22-23. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic and staff turnover over the last few years, the master fee schedule has not been revised since 2021. So we skipped 1 year on the CPI increase. So this year we are proposing that we make up for this increase by increasing our fees by the 3.8% that should have happened last year, plus 5% for this year's CPI, for a total increase of 8.8%. The only newly proposed fee that we have in this schedule is a $16 fee for overweight vehicles. These permits this fee will not be required by the quarry trucks and are typically when people are moving homes or moving major equipment used during construction. So, and it's a state set fee. So we are adding that in. We are planning to completely revamp our current fee schedule this year. It hasn't been really redone in I don't think ever that I know of. It's just been raised by the CPI and a few things have been changed, added or deleted. So this year we are going to look at reassessing the fee schedule. We weren't able to do that for this meeting. And so that's why we're just doing the two changes, the 8.8% increase and the addition of the $16 fee for the overweight vehicles. But in the coming year, we are going to assess the current fee schedule and the underlying business and regulatory processes to improve efficiencies. This will include looking at how we bill for community development related fees, police department fees, public facilities, and park rental fees, and fixed administrative fees. We'd also like to look at the layout and the format of the fee schedule to make it more user-friendly in a larger font and, just a whole different format. Last, since we have our new city engineer on board, we are going to be looking at reassessing the engineering related fees, and they will help us with that. Overall, the goals of fees would be to fund services, keep up with pricing factors, stay on pace with inflation, consider a break-even factor, and ultimately pay for the cost of services. The engineering fees that will be studied more in depth include the subdivision fees, parcel maps, major grading, minor construction activity permits, and major construction activity permits. We plan to have the Budget and Audit Committee review and help us with the assessment once we are able to get to that. And then we would have the City Council approve that before the next year's budget cycle. So within this budget year, we plan to bring that back to you all. Overall, as you know, and you have talked about and discussed over this last hour and the last 3 or 4 weeks, that we're a very small city with a very tight budget. So over the next year, we really need to take a deeper look at our fee structure to ensure that our business processes are efficient and that our fees are keeping up with our costs. And as I just said, we will be returning this year to look at those, a new and improved fee schedule. So this fee schedule is basically to get us on track, to get us at least up to the CPI increase of where we should be, and to be able to go into July and charge a relatively more realistic fee or fees for all of our services. And that is the end of my presentation. I think, Raina, did you want to open it for questions?
Yeah, if you can stop sharing your screen and everybody can see each other, that's excellent. This will follow the same format as we just did. Questions for clarity, open the public hearing, take public comment, close the public hearing, and deliberate and consider approval of the updates to the CPI related to the fee schedule.
Any questions from council on this item number 11 or 10B?
Me, please. Yep. I know you said you're going to come back before the end of the next fiscal year, the end of this coming fiscal year. Can we come back sooner rather than later? Because a lot of these fees look extremely low to me. I mean, people are getting a bargain for some of these things. So instead of it being, I don't know, 9 months from now, can we come back, after some of these events die down and staff has time to breathe for a minute, and maybe in the towards the end of the third quarter, possibly sometime before the end of this calendar year would be great. And before we get to our mid-year budget review, I would really like to see this come back sooner, if possible.
I think the goal would be to bring it back around the mid-year review. Mid-year review doesn't actually usually happen to the beginning of February. It's a little more than mid-year. So we'll aim to have it done, have the bulk of the analysis done by the end of this calendar year, and then bring it back. We definitely want to have it done in advance of starting the budget preparation, but we can, I think, as Councilmember Juan asked at the Budget and Audit Committee meeting in May, we can bring back those fees at any point we've completed that work. There is nothing that ties it specifically to the budget process. We just have to go through a public hearing process at whatever point we look to adjust those fees, but we can do it during the course of the year and then adjust as needed after that as well.
Okay, and will that involve looking at what other neighboring cities are doing in the area? Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Juan.
What's the expected outcome of the analysis? Like, in broad strokes, do we think the complexity of the fee structure will decrease? Do we think as Councilmember Tillman mentioned, do we expect some fees to go up? Do we expect the majority or a bulk of fees to go down? Are we going to eliminate some, consolidate some? What is your desired outcome for this analysis?
I would say that we don't know until we do a lot of the analysis. The desired outcome is as simple a fee structure based on efficient processes that recover our costs and are understandable, and we can communicate them. I would expect that some will go up and some will go down. I'm hoping that we are able to consolidate some so we don't necessarily need to have as many fees, but that's hard to say. There are a lot of components to the fee charges, and we need to have them by law and by policy as disaggregated enough that we're only recovering costs associated with a particular service. So, our fee schedule isn't particularly different in many ways than other jurisdictions. So I think it's all of the above to what you said in terms of expected outcomes. And I don't know which of those will be primary until we really get a chance to look at the underlying processes and then start to look at what the fee structures are that sit on top of those.
Okay. Last time we had discussed, or I think maybe I mentioned the concept that, and you brought it up here again, of cost recovery. Are we going to do the assessment of what we can do beyond cost recovery? If we are stretched for dollars, which we obviously are, one way that we can mitigate that is to get more dollars. Increasing the fees in some areas that is applicable to us may be an option. There are things that we've treated as cost recovery that I know that is historically how it's done, but I don't know the answer to the question of whether that is how it's required to be done. And to the extent that we can charge for services beyond cost recovery, I think that should be part of the assessment of the fee structure.
So there are very clear requirements in the law related to permits and regulatory fees that we can only recover the costs associated with the service. AB 1600 is the original legislation that put that in place. There's a bunch of other legislation that piles on top of that even further reinforces that same requirement, and those we are absolutely restricted to cost recovery and defendable cost recovery, particularly if you're looking at things like overhead or sort of fully loaded costs. There are a few areas in our fee schedule which are not required to be structured that way. Our facility rental fees, that's not a regulatory requirement or a permit or something that someone has to do, right? So it's not a thing that we control. It is a discretionary item. And so the city has considerably more latitude to set those fees than it would for the regulatory or permit fees, but state law is very prescriptive about what things may only be charged as cost recovery, and that's only gotten more so over the last 10 to 15 years than it was even when the original legislation AB 1600 was passed. So we will identify where those requirements are in place. It's most of their fees, and where they're not.
Okay. Yeah, and I reiterate the idea that we have an enterprise fund set up for Endeavor, and is it
That's
one
it.
other? Is it just
Nope.
Endeavor? Okay, sorry.
It's just Endeavor.
Just Endeavor.
An
And
area
so-
where we do have flexibility.
Yeah, so we have flexibility there. It's an enterprise fund, which is supposed to be, or not supposed to be, is designed to operate more like enterprise. It's in the name. And so I would explore the possibility of having enterprise type funds over certain other activities that happen within the city. I think that there's an avenue there that has potential to increase revenue. And so to the extent that it's permissible, not just, to the extent that we have the ability to move in that direction, I would suggest that we do the assessment of whether or not that's viable for us.
We will identify where those policy choices can be made and where they can't.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, we will open this item 10B up to public comment. And for those you wish, you can speak on this item for 3 minutes. Janet, do we have any hands?
I do have one hand raised. James, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, council again. Jim Killeran. I brought this topic up several months ago, and I know it's a tough topic, and a lot of my comments deals with the prior engineer. My dispute has never been with the permit fees. As you look at cost recovery or even enhancing recovery, just keep one simple business concept in mind, that it could be counterintuitive. By bringing your prices up for certain activities, it could push more of the work under the table. In essence, people just won't report. And so that's something you always have to consider. The higher the price, the more lack of reporting. And that deals with anything in any corporation I've worked in when it comes to compliance or anything else in business, you have to keep your fees reasonable for what the public is while balancing it with recoverability. The other thing I would say to you is once you get outside the permits, such as, for example, in my case was driveway replacement, the real concern that I had was not the permitting fees. It was basically the time of work. And what I found out with the prior engineer is that prior engineer was going to charge me for his travel time for his organization. So basically he was going to require, first it was three times he would come out to review a driveway replacement, 3 times at 2 hours apiece, with 6 hours at $270+ per hour. And then it got down to, I'll do 2 visits at 2 hours apiece. So that'd be 4 hours collectively, $4,000 of work. And I said, what are you doing in this? Because I did construction in my high school and also early in college, and working my summers and winters for a large construction firm. So I understand what's involved. And my dad, as Jim Diaz probably already knows, sorry, I'm not supposed to mention council members, was basically a project engineer his whole life, heading the building the San Francisco Opera House, a restoration, and then the Asian Art Museum. So the bottom line is that you really need to cap the fees on the hourly wages. And when somebody's only spending 5 minutes on a project, they should only do 5 minutes. So how do you do that? So you're not paying the travel time from their office to your place. Well, we have technology now with the iPhones and iPads where you can do it remotely through Zoom. So I would just ask you, as you're considering ways of doing it easier, to ensure compliance, because that's what this is all about, is compliance with state regulations, especially from an environmental waste perspective, is to make sure that you use the new technology. So some of these bids can be done in Zoom, and so it keeps the cost down to residents. So again, that's all I ask you, is to use Zoom as much as possible, and it can be done, especially when it comes to simple things like driveway replacement. Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you, James, once again. Appreciate that. Janet, do we have any other hands?
I do have another hand raised. Maria, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you hear me?
Welcome back, Maria.
You're
You have to turn
echoing.
off your iPhone or whatever that is.
We're fixing it now. Building on what the last gentleman said about technology to track people like that engineer, our company uses a technology called Schedulo, where it does track the employee with GPS, and it's on their phone. They have to download the app on the phone, and the company gives a login code, and then they log in and they check in when they get to a site, and they check out when they're leaving the site. So that helps, that because we had incidents of people saying they were someplace where they weren't, and there was a lot of fraud going on. So that's how we're counteracting that right now. So that works pretty well. That was just my idea on that.
Thank you for the suggestion, Maria. I'm sure we'll take that in mind as we start looking at our fee schedule and how we are invoicing or billing our fee schedule. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Any other questions from the public?
Mayor Cloven, I do not have any. Oh, one. Maria's hand just went up again. Oh, never mind. I have no other hands raised on this item.
Well, thank you very much. And with that, we're going to close public comment on item number 10B and bring it back to City Council discussion. And if there is no discussion, I'd entertain a motion for approval of item number 10B for the public hearing for approving the fee schedule for fiscal year 22-2023.
I'll make a motion.
Got a first by Vice Mayor Tillman.
I'll second.
Got a second member from Councilmember 1. Janet, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Yes.
Mayor Cloven.
Yes, and with that, the item passes 5-0, and we close item number 10B and move on to item number 11, which is action items. Action item number 11A is a resolution of the City Council and the City of Clayton adopting the City of Clayton's salary schedule effective July 1st, 2022, in conformance with CalPERS requirements to provide a publicly available salary schedule. And we'll turn that over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And as we round the corner into this last item, I would be remiss if I didn't just once more thank our Finance Director, Catherine Korsak, for all of her fantastic work on the budget and on the fee schedule. It has been quite the adventure for us putting it together this year. So I really want to appreciate the work that she's put in and the dedication she's shown to that. So thank you, Catherine. And with that, the salary schedule is a fairly ministerial item. All of your policy decisions regarding costs, et cetera, were contained in your budget document. This salary schedule aligns with those policy decisions in the budget document. As it says in the report, CalPERS requires a separately adopted resolution that approves a publicly available salary schedule. So this will be on our website effective July 1st, 2022 for the upcoming fiscal year. Just make sure that we're in compliance and CalPERS treats us nicely with respect to how our compensation is viewed. And we always want to be on the right side of CalPERS on these items. This salary schedule does include the 1-year appointment classification for a senior accountant. And just as an FYI, the draft class spec was attached to your council item so that you have that. And with that, we would be happy to answer any questions.
Bring it back to council. Council, do you have any questions for our city manager? Right. Seeing none, let's open this up to public comment. Janet, do we have any hands for this item? And if you are speaking, you have 3 minutes on this particular item, item number 11A.
Am I the only one who can barely hear the mayor?
No, I was just going to ask that question. You were on the same train. I can't even hear him.
I have it up really high and I can barely hear you.
I apologize. Move a little closer. Interesting.
Okay.
How about turning up the volume?
On my microphone, I'm not sure. I'm trying by my ears. Go ahead. Jen, do you have hands?
I do have one hand raised. James, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Jim again, and I thought this was very informational, and I'm glad it has to be disclosed to the public. Would I really like to supplement this, even so it's not part of this discussion, but I think it plays into the larger picture that's going to happen over the next 2 years. What I like to see is how our city staff salaries for each of those positions ranks from a quartile perspective, and really ranking against two different types of analysis. Number one, against all surrounding counties such as Solano, Marin County, San Francisco, Alameda, San Jose, Santa Clara, et cetera, Santa Cruz. How does a similar position rank in quartile against those? What's the medium? Then where do we rank in that salary range? And then really from a ranking for all of California for our city positions, how they rank to all cities, all small cities, less than maybe 20,000, or 20 or 30,000 citizens. And I think that would be a really helpful disclosure to the public. When I look at this salary, I look at it from two different ways. Who can we recruit? And what would it take to get somebody immediately in the Bay Area that would be able to drive to our location? We're no longer an inexpensive city to live in. My take on this is I'm a strict fiscal conservative, as anyone out there. I'm pragmatic, And the pragmatic piece of this is I've always believed is you have to pay people a fair wage. And that's been that's the root cause of a lot of our issues at this city is when we don't pay a fair wage, people leave. And that causes a lot of turmoil because it's tough to get people to come in. And so again, these salaries for a lot of, I think most of the positions seem to be really, really underperforming and from a competitiveness. And even so, they have good, healthy pensions attached to them after they retire. Everybody's focused on salary. You have to live off that salary. And right now, it seems like it's very competitive. So again, I would really ask the council to require the city to post that do that analysis. I don't need to hire someone, but I'm sure that information is readily available. And again, it'll help the business case when you go out to voters. If you decide to go out to voters looking for a tax increase, or if you have to shuffle the landscaping money to the general fund, whatever you decide to do. But it would be very helpful to the public to have that disclosure also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
We do have to close the loop on that. I think we did share that earlier this year for the Bay Area, not statewide, but we did have us compared to other counties. I don't know if that's on the website or not, but
just all we've had is comparisons with the smaller cities in Contra Costa County. That's what we've typically done we did it for the police negotiations contract that was a year ago, and about 6 months before that we did the miscellaneous employees, and we'll do that again in the not too distant future. But we typically just do essentially the smaller cities in the county, our biggest competition for employees. We don't typically go out full Bay Area wide.
Thank you.
Is my microphone any better?
Much.
Okay, I apologize.
1,000% better.
Yeah, I apologize. I couldn't hear that I was so slow. Or what happened? So I'm back. Are there any other discussion on this item? First of all, we're still in public comment. I don't think I closed it. Are there any hands, Janet, for this particular item?
Mayor Cloven, I do not have any other hands raised for this item.
Excellent. And with that, we will close public comment on action item 11A and bring it back to City Council for discussion. Is there any council members who'd like to talk about this particular item? Go ahead, Councilmember 1.
I would say while I was opposed to approving the budget, I think this wasn't the increased salary schedule here was reflected in the budget that was proposed. And this is an area that I do not think it would be prudent or wise or even justified to shortchange our staff in comp, especially given the inflationary times that we are in now. So this is an area that the city does need to make good on. And it's an area that I would not suggest that we do make cuts on.
Thank you so much, Councilmember 1. Any other discussion on this particular item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for item number 11A.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Got a first by Councilmember Wolf and a second by Vice Mayor Tillman. Janet, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Yes.
Mayor Cloven.
Yes, and with that, item number 11A passes 5-0. And we'll move on to item number 12, closed session, for which we have none. And then move on to item number 13, council items for future requests and directives for future meetings. Are there any items that council members would like to discuss on future meetings? Yes, Vice Mayor Tillman.
I just have one, and I know we'll probably do it in the next month or two. But for the League of California Cities, I know we'll be choosing a delegate later. But I have been, my name has been submitted to be one of the possible appointed members of the general, I have to look it up because I can't remember the acronym, but the GRC committee, which will be the body that will take forward resolutions that the league is possibly thinking of this year to the entire body. I haven't learned yet if I have been chosen or not, but I'm planning to go down. I don't have to be the delegate, but I'm letting you know that I do plan to go to Long Beach. So we need to make sure that we have that meeting sometime in the next couple of months, since I think there's a deadline in August.
We will, we plan to bring that back probably August 16th for selection of the delegate. It needs to be done prior to September 2nd. The conference is the September 9th through the 11th.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Tillman. Any other items for, yes?
I think the 9th. Am I wrong? For the dates? It doesn't matter. Well, we could talk about it in August. It's all good. Thanks.
Next, Councilmember Wolf, please.
Yeah, I don't have anything for the future. I meant to mention during my report that the citizens should not forget that we have a big 4th of July parade coming up 10 a.m. on the 4th of July, downtown Main Street in Clayton. I'm meeting tomorrow with the committee, and we have a lot of things to deal with, but we're going to need a lot of volunteers and people to step up. As with anything we do in Clayton, we need people to show up. So don't forget, the 4th of July is still on, and we want to have a big, great parade downtown. So if you can volunteer, that'd be great, but make sure you come down at 10 a.m. on the 4th. That's it.
Excellent. And I'd like to bring something up for a future item of discussion. I apparently, historically, there was a policy or some type of discussion about the city supplementing or reducing fee schedules for the arts. And I don't know if it's actually in writing or just something that was done off cuff, but I'd like to just have that as a discussion. It's a tough one in light of where our budget terms, where we are budget wise, but let's just bring it up at a future meeting.
And we can include that with the fee discussion. I think it'll tie nicely to that.
Thank you very much. Are there any other items for future discussion? If not, seeing none, item number 13, council items, is closed. And we'll bring it to item number 14, adjournment. It is now 8:39. And with that, we are adjourned until our next council meeting, which is 2 days from now on Thursday. We'll see you then.